Brother, what up? Michael, stoked to have you, man. How you doing?
Good, man. I'm good. I'm good, Cody.
I've
How are you?
been I've been so excited for this conversation for the last like 2 weeks. You have no idea. I also have like 50 people that are like, "What is this software?" So
Yeah, I saw it. I saw you posted it. It got like what, 100K views?
yeah, something like that. It went viral on LinkedIn too, which is hilarious. And so all these salespeople were like, "Yo, how do I get this type?" So, anyways, but so just for people, tell me a little bit about you and kind of your whole thing. I mean, are you still in school or what's going on? Where are you at in life right now?
Sure, sure. So yeah, I'm Michael. I'm 20. I live primarily in the UK, but I'm all around the place. So in the summer, I was in San Francisco. I'm a builder. I'm a builder first. I've been building my whole life. I used to go to university. I did computer science there for 2 years. I paid my rent by winning hackathons
Love it.
and building projects. I then dropped out because I was bored because all the projects were like fucking useless. So I wanted to join a hard startup. So I joined these two guys, these exited founders based in London. They were building a Web3 alternative to Stripe called Helio. We took it from like first like lines of code, pre MVP, and I've been there for around a year and a half now. We've gone through all the rounds, or not all the kind of one round, but all the kind of stages of growing a startup from nothing to something. So that was great for me. But yeah, and then just in the meantime, building a bunch of projects, doing a bunch of growth hacking,
I
kind of
love it, man.
thinking outside the box, and yeah, that's kind of my day to day.
I mean,
Here we
that's how
are
you
now.
showed up on my radar. I think you DM'd me. I'm a dickhead, but I'm just gonna say it publicly. Michael DM'd me, and then I just get so many, I literally lost it. And then my friend, our friend Yuval, was like, "Yo, you need to talk to this kid. He's fucking like gangster." And so, anyways, that's how we got intro in this whole thing. But
Shout
so,
out
so
to
you're still at Helio right now? Is that right?
Yeah, yes, I'm still at Helio. Still building that out. We raised $3 million
Nice,
recently,
nice.
and yeah, we're just scaling up the team, kind of building new features every week, and yeah, that's my primary focus. But like I said, on the side, building a bunch of other very exciting and cool tools like the one you saw.
I love it, man. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just give a rundown of how I see it, and then I want to hear your side of this thing.
Yeah,
So this tool we're talking about is this like it finds Calendly links, and then it automatically schedules basically like calendar invites and sends these out at scale. So it's basically a script that does this. And so what Michael did is he ran like the thing that went viral is he basically like ran this script to like every VC and scheduled a call with them, and it's just like, the screenshot is basically just imagine a calendar for a week with like, I mean, there's probably like 200 different, 200 plus different meetings on there. So talk to me about this and like, why did you build this and like, how did it come to be?
yeah, for sure. So we'll throw the screenshot up on the screen somewhere.
Yeah,
But
yeah, of course, of course.
yeah, so I was kind of like I was scrolling Twitter one day. It was Twitter at the time, and I was like, dude, like there are all these really cool people that I want to talk to, but like obviously they'll never talk to me. If I just like shot out a cold email or shot out a cold DM, they're just gonna leave me on red. So I was trying to think of some smart ways to contact these people, trying to think of some untapped ways, and I'm thinking like, well, okay, like what do these people all have in common? So they all have emails. Okay, what else do they have? Some of them have like WhatsApps. Some of them have Telegrams. And then it kind of came to me, well, all of them have Calendly usernames and Calendly links and calendar schedulers, and that's what they primarily use kind of to talk to people. And the good thing about calendar schedulers is they're not actually private. So they're not private, they're not like password gated, they're just hidden. So you just gotta get lucky and kind of guess, essentially guess the URL. So I started doing that. So I just went on my timeline. I was like, this guy, super like 100,000 followers, like he'll never talk to me. I copy his Twitter username, I put it in calendly.com/, and then all of a sudden his calendar comes up and I can schedule a meeting. Well, like 2 days later, I'm talking to this crazy guy, or like, well, this like crazy high up guy, and yeah, he's like, I would never have the opportunity to do that on Twitter.
Yeah, I
So
just go. I mean, you go on red, right? Like,
exactly, exactly. So I joined the call. He's like, "Yo, who are you? Who's this? Like, I don't know what this is. It's just like just came off my calendar." And I just go, "Look, my name's Michael. I'm from Scotland. I found a way to hack into kind of your calendar, or hack like get into your calendar, and they loved it. They absolutely love it. The amount of kind of serendipity and great experiences I've got from that is insane. That was kind of one thing that a lot of people are kind of skeptical about is, and maybe we'll go into this later, but the idea that like people think it's kind of like cold, a little bit like spammy.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. I had so many sales friends reach out and they're like, dude, this feels so spammy, but I also want to try it. Like,
yeah. So
I
that
think if
that's
you treat it though, it's like, oh, yo, I'm just here to meet you. Like, it's like this isn't sales. Like, it's just like an intro call type of thing, almost. You know, like,
exactly, exactly. So like the thing you can control the name. So the name, I was very transparent about that. I put like introduction to Michael, whatever. Like I talked to them. These people, like they've also like they also understand kind of like if you've gone through all this effort to speak to them, like you must be some value to them, and there must be something that like they can get out of it. And they also they respect it. And I think like any of us would respect if someone managed to like find a way to get. So from an outsider's perspective, it looks pretty negative, but in actual fact, everyone, and I kid you not, everyone was like, wow, this is awesome. You're an awesome guy. This is
how
super.
many of these did you do? How many people did you just like cold talk to?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So in the start, I was doing it manually. So I would speak to like 10, 20 people. And then I was like, well, what's stopping me from kind of scaling this up, because I just want to maximize my serendipity. I want to talk to as many people as possible. So I wrote a script. Oh, sorry. I wrote a script. I scheduled meetings. I found a way to get investors, like Twitter usernames, and then
Yep.
map to the Calendly. And I ended up scheduling meetings with around like I think I think I had a list of around 3,000 people. And yeah, I think I took around like 100 calls in a day at least, like transparent meeting or like and parallel meetings. So I would be in like three meetings at once. I'd be like, hey, and then go on mute and be like, hey, and go on mute, and then going like, oh hey, I'll basically just like round robin and then like talk to three people once is a crazy
Man,
thing.
I love this so much. Oh my God. It's amazing.
But yeah, it was super super successful, very very beneficial, and I met some crazy people that I would have never had the chance to meet otherwise.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so you talked about it in public. I know you built the tool. You sold it though, right? Just to confirm. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I built a SaaS for this to see, well, because I was like, well, I've had my fun. Let's help everyone else.
Yeah.
And yeah, I ended up selling that a couple months later. But yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's sold. Are you so okay? The last time I talked, I don't know if you were talking about this in public. So if not, just like whatever. But you were saying like we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna basically have an AI show up to these meetings and talk to all these people at scale. Are you guys still shipping on that, or what's happening there?
Yeah, yeah. So this actually built. It's built. We're testing right now. We have this AI where you speak to it and it will respond to you in like very very good latency. So it almost feels, well, it's definitely not human, but it feels very very human.
Yeah.
Um, and
Honestly, I think
and
just the experience will be novel. I don't
yeah,
I,
yeah.
like that alone will be just like crazy,
It
especially if
it's
you're
yeah. It
like talking to
sounds like,
VCs.
yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like AGI, and people are like, "Whoa, what the hell?" Like, and it feels like they've scheduled the meeting, like this AGI entity has like scheduled the meeting themselves, and they join it, and
Amazing.
it's like, "Whoa, this is weird."
That is amazing. So are you building that tech to like have it be external, or is this just like an internal tool you guys are using like at Helios or I mean just as like a side project thing?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not affiliated with Helio at all, but yeah, it's just a side project that me and my friend were building out because he owns a venture studio
Okay.
and he has a bunch of projects, and he was basically looking for to get in contact with VCs and kind of connect them to all his venture projects. So I was helping him with that. But yeah.
I love it, man. That's amazing. That's amazing. So okay, cool. So I mean, what do like I don't even know where to go from that, right? Like that's one of the most original things I've heard I think in the last year or so. But talk to me about what you're seeing kind of like like in the builder space. I feel like this is like this whole category that's starting to develop where it's like these young self-taught, I mean like, people your age that are just crushing these, I mean, and just building like super interesting things. My co-founder Max, he's like 20, I think he's 24 now, but I think at your age he was probably in the same category. He was building, like basically like shoe drop bots, dropped out of
Yeah.
school, same type of deal. But I don't know. Everybody's kind of talking about this, how it like how do I find people like that, like you, or that are these kind of like young, hungry, like really like kind of creative, both on the marketing side and on like the product side. Anyway, I'd love to hear like kind of what you're seeing in that community, because I know you're really deep in that right now, right?
So so just as a preface, it's very kind of it's a very deep community. So you kind of I've been in this community for around 5 years. So obviously 5 years ago, all my friends were 15. That's kind of when you see it start to pick up. And usually the first projects you do are like super kind of like degenerate things, or like not degenerate, but like random things like
It's
Uber
always degenerate.
and like
I don't know. The early stuff, you're just like, how do I make money as fast as I can and don't care about brand, or just like, how do I do something cool?
so I actually got started. I ran like meme pages when I was like 15. I had a big network on Instagram, and that was kind of my introduction to kind of like growth hacking and
Yep.
scaling it and mass marketing and stuff like this. I've been coding like my entire life, but kind of the combination of both is kind of very interesting and
It's
very rich.
magic.
But yeah, so all my friends kind of we've been like we've all grown up together. We were in like all the hackathon servers together. So that's a very kind of you get a lot of alpha and a lot of signal from the hackathon servers. Like everyone that's kind of big now that's kind of like made it or is changing the world right now. They're all in hackathon servers and like kind of underground communities.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then yeah, I mean, like I
Like
think
if I was a founder and I was like, how do I find these people? Like what would that process look like? Where would I go? Like, are you guys on Discord channels, or like, I mean, 'cause I literally know like
sure,
so
yeah, yeah.
many, like, they're probably early 30s, they own a company, they have this idea, they want like, somebody who's like 21, 22 to come in and just like basically kind of like, they're going to give them resources and like just to sprint and build this thing up. So anyways, how would I meet those people, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
For sure, for sure. So like I said, the very early stage is like hackathons. So there's hackathon Discord servers. Hackathon for everyone is basically just like it's like a 2-day event where a bunch of kind of college and high school students come together. They form teams and they basically just build MVPs. It's like basically like an MVP building weekend, and the best MVPs like end up winning prizes, and that's kind of like a very good like
Is it like
introduction.
monetary prizes, or what's that look like?
Yeah. So it's monetary. It can also be like some people give out MacBooks, some people give out like laptops. In fact, like one of a funny story, if I go on a tangent, was so I actually got into hackathons during COVID when everything
Okay.
went online. So hackathons are usually in person, but this time it was online. But the
Hmm.
hackathons themselves are hosted by universities, and you usually need to be a member of the university to actually like join the hackathon. Sometimes it's open to the public. So what we used to do is we used to hit like because I said I used to pay my rent by doing hackathons, and we used to hit like 2 hackathons a weekend, 1 hackathon a weekend. Every single weekend we'd be building a new MVP. But what was really funny was that we had to pretend that one, we were old enough because most of us were like 17 and the limit was 18.
Yeah.
And two, we actually went to the university. So like we didn't go to university. We were like these were big kind of like Ivy League hackathons, and we were like I was sitting in a room in the middle of Scotland, and my friends were in India, and one of my friends was in like who knows where, Canada, and we would have to pretend that like we went to the university. So when it came time to like kind of pitch to the judges, we'd be like, oh yeah, like I love this university, it's awesome. Like we didn't even know what the university was called. We just had to pretend.
That's
Um,
unbelievable.
it was so funny because we would end up winning, and then it'd be like the winners were some random people from like the middle of nowhere, and then everyone else was like kind of the university students. So that's like a pretty funny story about
And
like
they would
how
they would pay you out from like the university would, like, they send you a check for a grand, or what would that look like?
yeah. So usually it's around the prices usually range from around like kind of to the better ones are usually like $5,000 like
Yeah.
top. So like I said, if you're doing that every week and you start to get good at it, and it was actually very competitive, and
You also just get at bats at making product, right? Like, I mean,
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah, like
there's
there's
nothing more powerful than that.
so many byproducts to the hackathons. I really recommend it to anyone that's kind of starting off
Yeah.
and is young and likes building, likes touching a lot of technology.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, if you do this every week, you get really good at it. we were starting to make like a full-time job just from like doing hackathons, like fucking around with hackathons with our friends on the weekends, and then just doing like, you know, doing schoolwork on the weekdays. So we were making like what, like $1,000 like probably every week at like certain rate just by winning hackathons. Um,
Insane, man. That's insane.
but yeah, but to go back to the
What are
point,
some of the Discord servers, like the most common ones? Like if I wanted to Google them, or how the fuck would I find them?
for sure, for sure. So I mean, I think Twitter is like obviously a great place to get started. So you see kind of the main ones. You see Buildspace is doing a great job. You
Yeah,
have
Buildspace is sick.
yeah, Buildspace is kind of like leading right now. It's super hype. There's a lot of really really smart kids and young adults. Also, there's some more kind of slightly different ones like self-learning academies, such as there's one called TKS, which is stands for the Knowledge Society. So they have a program where I think it's under 19-year-old. Like if you're under
Mm,
19, you apply, and basically it's basically this club, and it's a very very kind of beneficial club if you're young
mhm.
and passionate. That's a great place to go. Also, like trying to think. Yeah, there's Z Fellows. Z Fellows is also great. And that's kind of a bit more older than TKS. But yeah, like all of these clubs are more suited towards like, well, like you have to be young to kind of get
Yeah,
into them. But if you look for people that have been to like these places, been like got into TKS, got into kind of like Z Fellows,
Buildspace. Yeah.
boat space, like one boat space, you know, it's very good signal that like these people are kind of like, you know, they're on the right track, and they're people that you should be very interested in, or like looking out like outside.
And is that mainly on the product side? Like, do these exist for kind of the marketing space too? I mean, there's no, I for forever have looked for like some type, some version for like degenerate growth people, kind of like
So
find those type. But
yeah, yeah. So I think like as far as like growth hacking goes, the growth hacking ones are much more like underground, which is ironic because it's like growth hacking. So like I thought
yeah,
they
of
would be
course,
really good at like getting a bunch of like getting their name out there,
totally.
but actually they're underground. There's some really good ones. So like obviously there's blackhatworld.com, which
Yeah,
sounds worse now.
it's unbelievable. Some of the best case studies in the world are on there. I mean, I grew up on that shit. So
Yeah, yeah. So did I. I used to grind out Black Hat World. There's also this new one called Content Marina, which
Content
is
Marina.
yeah, it's for people basically trying to make money on the internet. It's very very heavily oriented around like YouTube and socials and like posting short form content and things like this. And yeah,
It's
the founder
Content Marina. Is that right?
Content Marina, yeah. The owner of Content Marina actually just went viral on Twitter. Have you ever seen the YouTube video like this 15-year-old makes like 100,000 or some crazy amount a month?
Yeah, and that's him.
That's that's him. And yeah, I mean there's a bunch. They're very kind of like underground. They're much smaller. The Reddit communities are pretty good, but they're pretty like surface level.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the hardest piece, at least for, is you're always just trying to find alpha, and like you got to be in these private spaces to see that, or just like talk to people that are actually on the front lines. That's like the only way to actually like learn. So,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's hard to kind of like quantify it, and like hard to talk about like certain communities. It's just like generally being in the environment, like being connected to like these people that I've kind of grown up with, and like they know people, and before you know it, you're kind of like you've created your own mini like subreddit in your
yep.
brain. Um,
No, that
it's
makes total sense. Okay, so perfect segue, honestly, like the YouTube piece. So you're building this new thing now, and it basically like generates shorts based off of a prompt. So I was playing around with it. This would have been like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I know that you were making it more like you're still working on it. But imagine you give it a prompt, and then it creates like a voiceover. It has like background music, and then it also has images that are basically like related to whatever the script is. Talk to me about that, and like how like I mean, I imagine people are using these for like faceless YouTube channels, and like basically like building shorts channels off that, but educate me on that.
Sure, exactly. So, like I said previously, when I was 15, I used to have massive like kind of Instagram meme pages, and the bottleneck for me was always creating content. So there's it used to take like kind of to get very good content, and to get content that goes viral, it used to take kind of like you'd either like steal someone else's back in the day, or you would have to create it yourself, which takes now like a couple, like at least a couple days to create like a solid short. And in fact, I was scrolling TikTok, and you come to think of it, a lot of the content right now can be very easily automated, especially the faceless ones. Like for example, if you come across like satisfying videos, if you come across like like the horror stories, like all these things, they actually take like quite a while to make. So they take at least an hour to make. So I thought, well, why can't like we have Midjourney, which is good for images. Why can't I make almost like a Midjourney that's practical for creating TikTok videos and like or social media short videos? So that's what I did. So I built it in like a week. It basically takes in a prompt. So you say, create a fact video about like literally anything
Yeah.
that
Like
ChatGPT can
history or whatever, like Napoleon or something,
exactly, yeah. It can be very niche, but yeah, clips facts video about Napoleon, and it spits it out in 2 minutes. So you go from single prompt to fully edited, constructed video ready to post on TikTok in 2 minutes.
So it
Uh,
basically writes the script, it makes the images with Midjourney, it stitches it all together, and then you have this like, I mean, I was looking at them like, how do we make like 500 of these and just spin up a YouTube channel
yeah,
basically?
exactly, and it's actually we have so the way I've built it has very good scale. So you actually can spin up like 500 videos.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
What's this company now? What's the name of it? And I'll link it in the show notes as well, so
for
people
sure.
can go check it out. But
It's called Shorts.lol. So Shorts.lol.
shorts.lol, cool, hell yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Are you running these channels like yourself? Like, is this like, I mean, are you building any of these out? And then what are the numbers you're seeing on these videos that you're making?
Sure, sure. So it's actually like in a very kind of private or very small like very small community level. You have around like I've spun it around like 15, 20 people, and they're all kind of using it. They're getting like pretty good results. When I was kind of doing my research and figuring out has anyone ever done this before, I came across someone I can't really like kind of mention who they are,
Yeah, yeah,
but
of course.
who was actually building something very similar, and they have a lot of developers and a lot of builders, and they actually plan to use it internally. So they tried to use it internally for around like I think it was a couple months, and it's just like it's not really feasible because obviously it's very hard to have like a lot of accounts. You're at kind of the mercy of TikTok and YouTube, and you can get banned and things like this. So it feels very natural for me to just be like, well, why don't I make it a SaaS? Why don't I let kind of everyone else use it? In a gold rush, you want to be the one
Yeah, of
selling
course.
pickaxe, not the gold. So
Totally. Are you seeing brands use this? Like I've been trying to figure out like how do we like use this for like Swell or use it for Draft Horse, like basically to like talk about content generation, for like companies. Like what
sure.
any examples of that? And then also just like if you have view numbers, like I would, just ballpark of like, we're seeing, this clip gets generated in 2 minutes, it's published, and we're seeing it get, 1,000 views, and it costs the person 50 cents to make, or something like that, just to like understand the unit economics behind it, because I think that's what like, as a business owner, I'm thinking about that constantly, right? Like how can I, yeah.
Sure. So in terms of scale and like cost per video is extremely low. It's probably less than like a penny at scale. In terms of view count, I mean it's very
Tons
dependent
of
on
factors, right? Like I'm just talking about
well,
like say you have like 1,000 subs, right? So it's not huge, but you're kind of still early on. Like, I mean, are you seeing these go viral? Like these the things that people are making, like, is it like 100,000 views, like 500,000 views on these shorts, or what does that look like? Just like for some of the power users.
sure, sure. So the current state of Shorts.lol is actually because for me, I've been in kind of social for like years, and I kind of understand like at what level something goes viral and what level something doesn't. The current state of Shorts.lol, the videos generated are a little bit are just below kind of the threshold of like consistently going viral. So you'll see the odd one go viral, and that'll usually garner like 3x your normal view count. But like consistently, the most important factor right now is that users can't really tell the difference and don't really care between like the human generated faceless content and like AI generated faceless content,
Mm.
which is practically the same thing because it's just a human doing it, which is taking longer. So if, for example, if you were to post these videos on an account that already gets 1,000 views a video, you're not gonna see any less than like 1,000, 1,500 views, if that. And like I said, sometimes they end up going viral. But yeah, this is still like very early stage, and I think with a couple a couple of smart tricks and changes, I think it can start consistently going viral.
No, that's amazing, man. I'm gonna honestly, I just need to do testing on this and just like spin up a TikTok and a YouTube channel and a or Instagram or Gram like Reels account and play with it and see what we can do. But and just so you're right now it's just like it's basically an image and it's like a moving image with like a text overlay that's like narrating over the top of it. I think the last time we were talking, you were saying that you're like working on like bringing in, it's like, what is it called? Where, like it's like the car video game and it's driving in the background. Are you doing that now, or is it actual like moving video now? And like, do you see that even being possible in the future with kind of this technology and stuff?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, I think moving video is like extremely possible. Like the problem for me is that I'm building a product and my product isn't heavily dependent on video. If you look on TikTok videos or not TikTok like reels or whatever, the videos themselves, they don't always have to use like very stimulating, engaging videos. But in fact, if you have an image that's kind of has some sort of animation or effect on it, which is kind of like it ends up becoming not as stimulating as a video, but much more stimulating than a static image. And it's also much easier to build and kind of the technology is already there. You know, I can spin up mid-journey images in like a minute. I think in terms of like what I'm building is like the next step. So yeah, I'm gonna add the ability to add like custom gameplay to like the top, like sometimes you see in the in TikTok videos. But in terms of like custom video, yeah, I've taken the decision kind of not to pursue that very deeply because I think in the next couple months, some API is going to come along and do like a much kind of better job. And I want to use an API that kind of specializes in that
Totally,
rather than trying
totally.
to create the product myself. Like an example of this is like I know a bunch of people in the space that have spent the last like 2 months and like a lot of their engineering resource creating like really good image like custom image generators on Midjourney. And
Yep,
then what happens is that DALL-E 3 comes along and just ends up being like way better than anything they've made
totally,
in the last few months.
totally.
So for me running like Shorts.lol, it makes sense for me to focus on building the best platform with the tools I currently have available.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. That's just like
in a
stable rather than the technology. I mean, that's our view on it too, right? Like everything we're building is basically just like API wrappers stacked together to, create some output that people are looking for. So, dude, it kills me how many people talk shit on that too. Like, I love it because it's just like
and
there's so much money to be made just like with exactly what you're doing. It's just like
yeah.
API calls, but it makes the output people want.
Yeah, so one thing I'll mention is that's kind of a downside to surrounding yourself in this environment. So when you surround yourself in kind of the kind of accelerationist like Twitter environment, like the arena, as there's a lot of kind of like I wouldn't like maybe like subconscious bullying is like a bit of a stretch, like a scary word. But you know, there's a lot of people that are kind of like there's a lot of stigma around like building ChatGPT wrappers and like the like a lot of intellectual like kind of BS
It's
and like
bullshit. No, yeah.
online and you know it's like I think like yeah surrounding yourself in this space you just gotta kind of you gotta think about like okay what do I really want to do it's like for me what I want to do is I want to make a bunch of money and then I want to like completely change the world. So I want to like kind of follow Elon's path, and this is kind of what Elon did like 20 years ago. And yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of like you know I think a bit of it is jealousy. I think a bit of it is kind of like you know like copium where they're like well. GPT rapper is like, dude, you're doing GPT rapper? It's like, yeah, fuck yeah, I am, and I'm gonna kind of gonna scale it up
If it prints money and makes my life bad, like that's what kills me is like if the goal is to make money, like then do the thing that is like the path of least resistance to that, right? So it's like what you I don't know, you can have your intellectual stuff and that can exist in its own like I feel like they like a lot of people think it can't be one or the other. I come from the action sports community and like this is a classic thing there as well, where it's like, no, I don't get sponsorships and I live like a dirt bag and I'm core and I won't sell out, right? Because it's like, it's a pride thing. And I'm over here and I'm like, yo, just grow an Instagram account of you, doing gnarly line skiing and like go get a sponsorship and you can live a good life, right? It's the same. I don't know. It's just I
yeah.
feel like that's such a ridiculous view. But again, this is me. I'm like whatever, less competition, and
Yeah,
we can, continue to do what we're doing. So
I agree. Yeah, I think a lot of people have like a really weird line on like, or very weird boundaries on where they draw the line on integrity. You know, a lot of people kind of be like, well, it's like against my integrity to build these things. Well, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I think like I'm going to pursue them. I think I have like very good morals and very good ethics, and kind of I know what I want to do, and like we'll see in the future if like who achieves their goals and who achieves their dreams. But one kind of like interesting side note is like I think I've had some of my best ideas be a product of Twitter, and looking through my Twitter timeline, I'm like, oh, that's good, that's good. I think it's very beneficial. But equally so, I think a lot of my kind of my best thoughts have come when I've not been a consumer of Twitter at all. Like one example of this is like I'm super kind of like into social. I'm like kind of a product of YouTube. Like I'm like an
I feel
algorithm.
like your generation is that though, right? Like we were versions of that, but I mean, the tutorials that used to exist there were so shit. Like now it's a whole other world, right? You can teach yourself anything with like way more clarity. But anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, didn't
Yeah.
mean to interject. I just
No, no,
it
no.
gets yeah.
You're totally right. And like now, yeah, like we said, we're like our generation is kind of the product of the internet and product of algorithms. And kind of around 2 years ago, I didn't actually have a phone at all, so I had a Nokia brick. So
Oh
I
yeah.
got rid of kind of I had no social media whatsoever. Didn't have Twitter. Didn't have like anything. Didn't even have Instagram. Like I would run Instagram businesses. I didn't even have Instagram. Like other people would run it for me. And yeah, like some of my best thoughts came from kind of not being in any kind of online environment, kind of being
It's an echo chamber.
so, like free thinking. And yeah, there's parts of me that actually miss that. But I think I think there's a lot of benefit to having like kind of like a personal brand, if you would call it that, or being on Twitter. But I think it's very dangerous, and you got to make sure that you end up becoming like a provider and not like a consumer.
Yeah,
And
100%. And it's a hard line to fall. Like, I don't know. I mean, I schedule all my tweets out, right? And like try to not be on
yeah,
platform
so
at all. And it's just like literally just purely
dude,
for
you're
that. But
yeah. As a side note, you're crushing it, man. Like sometimes I have to mute your profile because it all comes up in my feed. Like, I'm like, how is this
I
guy ranking in my feed?
dude,
My
I swear I just like I'm the most unfollowed and followed back person. Like people follow me and then they unfollow me and then they follow me back and they unfollow me and it's just like this like I see the same profiles just come up like every couple months. It's hilarious. So I mean it's at a scale now where it's like it's not even possible to watch it. Like it's like, a couple hundred followers every day, especially if something goes viral. But yeah, anyways, it's so okay, so on that note, just to brain dump stuff that I'm like seeing in the data right now. So what we're seeing all of the channels basically do is like when you engage with a profile, so like engage with a YouTube channel, engage with a Twitter profile, engage with an Instagram profile, etc. Like what's happening is it's basically like tagging that user and they're being like, oh, like you like content like this. So the next time you come back into the app on like your For You page, we're going to show you more from that person, right? So it creates this viral loop. And so like we're doing all this testing right now on like YouTube accounts of basically like putting like YouTube videos as bumper ads in front of like other videos. And it's like the full YouTube video, right? It's like 10 minutes, it's like a 10-minute video. But what we're seeing is like as they consume that piece of content, YouTube is like, oh, like you like content like this from this channel. Let me show you other videos from that channel the next time that you log in. And let's see if you go and like interact with them, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is you can like seed these these social accounts like across all these different platforms. It's like we're seeing like the same data basically. And this I figured this out on Instagram and then we've been applying it in these other places. But what I'm getting getting into with this is like I think right now more than ever, like you can grow these social accounts at a way faster pace than you could previously because of this For You page content that like TikTok kind of pioneered and then everybody else has adopted, right? Because they're like, oh, we're getting way more time on platform when we show random shit that like just gets them to stay. So let's just show them more and more of that. So, anyways, just kind of a random learning, but
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think kind of X is changing up their algorithm to be more around. Well, I mean, kind of Elon and the CEO said it themselves, where they want people to spend a lot of time on the app, but they also want them to leave the app feeling like they don't feel more sad, or
yeah,
they feel like somewhat fulfilled. And I think like, yeah, I think, for example, your profile is kind of a very good balance between like posting, and also having like a good balance of value and also like kind of like comedic humor. And I think that's kind of, yeah, like we've seen that kind of that the combination of that has had like really great effects. I mean, like specifically like kind of like your profile and some profiles that I've seen recently pop up have been very focused on like not only kind of, well, okay, what I'm trying to say is before like kind of the social meta used to be like from like posting very high quality content, posting consistently, getting good and posting it at correct times, getting very good kind of initial engagement. And now like in Twitter we've seen a shift, I believe, and more profiles have started to blow up where they're just kind of posting and posting and posting and posting. And this like this wasn't the case like last year or like 2 years ago, it seems. Like for example, like I can name a few like I think you're doing a very good job. I think like Levels.io is
Yeah.
also kind of like a very good example of someone that just, you always see them consistently. And then yeah, I think it's a new meta that's starting to form. I think a lot of smart people on Twitter that do really well kind of have started to notice this as well. And before they were posting very kind of very high quality content, maybe like once a day. And now they've started to kind of shift to more of like a kind of like a rapid fire approach. And I think
Dude,
like
I love it personally because I think that like I don't know. I'm watching these YouTube creators just like blow up right now. Like one I'm obsessed with is named Julian Goldie, and he's like an SEO guy, but he's just like it's just like raw video of him talking through workflows to like automate content production, and he like does almost no editing, and it's like him on a Loom video, with like that's it, like that's the whole thing, and then he just like gives you all of this, and it's like a 10-minute video of just like pure just knowledge. And I think that type, like, I think people have a taste for that type of content, like more and more. It's like the anti-thread boy thing, right? Like it's like, oh, cool. Like I just want like the raw, unfiltered version of like, and I think all of this goes in cycles. Like we're just in this cycle of like we want it raw, but like it's gonna come back to okay, like people are gonna want more curated content. Like it'll go through that, like it always goes through these waves. But I think we're in that moment right now, and also just like that's why you're seeing all of these create like anybody that's doing anything on these social channels just like increase volume and just like crank this stuff out because
yeah,
that's what the communities are wanting. So
for sure. We're
yeah,
definitely at the start of a new cycle, I think. Like
totally.
I mean a lot of good examples is kind of like, when everybody changes their background picture to like a green or like orange or something to try and get like try and be more stimulating and grab attention, get clicks. And then everybody does it, and now it's like, well, okay, so maybe like the more natural pictures are actually starting to like garner more attention because like everybody's going orange. But I think you can, you know, like I think one very valuable thing to, or one thing that's very valuable is the ability to find kind of leaders in new cycles. Like for example, I saw Mr. Beast at like 50K, and like I knew, like I watched a couple of his videos, like I knew that this was like a new phase, and I knew that he was gonna kind of like lead it.
Yeah.
And like sometimes you just watch people and you're like, okay, like this is the new thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and what happens is they end up kind of like taking a new wave, everybody adopts to it, and then like you kind of the cycle repeats itself and you're like, okay,
Yep.
well, now like who's the next? And yeah, I think we're definitely at the start of like a new phase in X and just in general and on all social platforms.
No, I totally agree. Sweet man. I know we only have a couple more minutes. So I have two questions for you. So like if somebody wanted to like sponsor a hackathon, like could they do that? Where they're like, yo, we'll give $1,000 away. You're gonna go try to build this thing and then, drop it in a Discord. If they wanted to do that, could they reach out to you to set that up? I'm also curious in doing this just to like see what happens and like, sponsor one or something like that. So is that like, would you be open to that or like how does that work?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, well, I host like some hackathons, but most of the hackathons are hosted by universities, and that's
Yeah.
how they work. So what the universities do is they get sponsors, external companies like
Yep.
Google, Facebook, but also like startups, and
Yeah.
they basically provide money, and in return they get to kind of host prizes, and they're basically like, okay, we'll have like a, I don't know, like we'll have like a Shorts.lol prize, where whoever creates the best product, like using kind of the Shorts.lol API, will win like $2,000.
Yeah.
And I think that's great for, I think it's a win-win, because it's great for kind of like companies trying to create new ideas, and it's great for students who are trying to like learn the tech and
Yep.
and money. So yeah, I mean, just go on MLH. MLH is the kind of the standard, or the biggest hackathon, the hoster, and yeah, like reach out to the hackathons, and they're always looking for sponsors.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Hell yeah. Okay, cool. Well, sweet, man. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I have like gears turning from this conversation. So like just incredibly valuable. Where can people find you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, sure. So primarily on X, Michael Beer 01. Yeah, I'm pretty underground everywhere else, but if you
Cool.
want to,
Sweet.
or
Yeah, I'll add it to the. Go ahead, sorry.
Shopify.zip. I own like the only Shopify domain that they've not taken, like Shopify.zip, Bitcoin.zip. Like
Amazing.
I actually like reached out to Toby. I was like, Toby, I'll give you Shopify.zip for a 15-minute call, but he never got back to me. So I'm taking it
That's
until
amazing.
Toby, if you listen to this, the offer's still there.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, cool. We'll add it in the show notes as well. But thank you again, brother. I'm stoked to have this conversation with you, and we'll talk to you soon. So
Thanks for having me.